gonna see how this goes. Happy new moon. I'm on my way to Sky Pond, which is a super beautiful sacred land that I have the honor and privilege of hosting women moon ceremonies on. And I look forward to this day twice a month, every new and full moon. It's the new moon and I'm so excited. These really are like the best parts of my life, where I get to host ceremonies and be in community with women who are also doing deep, sacred feminine work. It's really such a gift. And I'm just like honored. A year ago, like I was barely getting these ceremonies off the ground. And the first two ceremonies that I ever held, no one showed up. It was just me. And I didn't let that stop me. And I think that's like really important. I mean, I had to work through a lot of like self-doubt and devastation and feeling disappointment, all the feelings that I don't love. But that was growth for me. I had to really deepen into like why I was doing this. And it's not really about just having a full circle. It's about the work that's being done. And in order for me to hold space, I really had to clear out what wasn't going to serve the space and the women and my own energetic life. So I'm really, really proud of myself for not giving up a year ago and, continuing to see these ceremonies through. I'm sure that the video quality is like bumpy. At this moment in time, I basically have the camera set up at on a tripod that's sticking out of my seats and is anchored by like some clips that you would use in like woodworking or something. So it's not the best setup, but it works. We're here. The drive to Sky Pond is often an initiation all in itself. I feel like it's the first like subtle veil or portal I have to walk through in order to begin emptying my vessel, my space, my consciousness to really like get into the presence and the state of consciousness that I really want to hold. So it's the day after the moon ceremony that I did yesterday, and today is the actual new moon, and because it carries some eclipse energy as well as the equinox energy that's coming up, it's like a really great day to like not do anything super crazy and just to like be in the void, in the stillness, in the symbolic darkness of the moon. So as you can see, I've unpacked my car because I literally like take everything with me to the moon ceremonies, and then I come back and I sit in my own space. I get connected to my own vision, my own heart, my own truth, and then I recreate my altar. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. And yeah, should be fun. Now we pray. You can hear the rain. It's so pretty. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. It's been a really long winter. I felt like it was, for me, like a time of like digging myself so deep into the ground, and there was a lot of rest, there was a lot of releasing, there was a lot of letting go, there was a lot of like hibernation, and it's been a journey over the last month and a half to like begin the journey back up to the surface of the soil, because I was so like down deep, which was good for me because I had a lot of work to do. I had a lot to clear out. I had a lot to sift through. So I'm really looking forward to the spring equinox because I do feel the blossoming happening. But it's a journey. I just wanted to sit here and like open up my intention for this lunar cycle is to just be open to the magic, the mystery, the journey, and see what's really ready to you know, to really be put to rest after this winter. Oh, my nose is running. Sorry about that. See what really is ready to be like put to rest after this winter season, like the things that really just aren't wanting to grow in my life anymore, and honoring those things, and then also sensing into like the life that's ready to come forward. You know, like I'm just gonna take this lunar cycle and let myself be creative. I'm going to film the journey from the viewpoint or lens point of how I approach lunar cycles and what I do during a whole lunar cycle journey. So I'm gonna go through, you know, I'm gonna follow myself through the new moon, the crescent moon, the quarter moon, the gibbous moon, the full moon, and then the waning side of all of those phases, which is about 29 and a half days, so about a month long. And I'm just gonna see what's here. It could be good, it could be not good. I have no expectations. I have no idea what's gonna happen, but I'm really excited to share, you know, something I'm super passionate about, as well as step into a new form of creativity. It's a new cycle, so it's time to erase the board and see what comes. Gonna help me? Buddy. This is Word. Hey, sweetheart. Such a cuddle bean. So, it's officially a new lunar cycle. I started this video maybe just a day or two before the actual new moon, because that's when I tend to sense the weaving of the new lunar cycle. So for me, that's when I begin my preparation for the lunar cycle. This one is like really auspicious to me because it brings with it a lot of equinox energy. So we're starting the new moon still in our winter, and then we will have the spring equinox, where, you know, depending on where we live, the seasons either drastically change, or at least more light is starting to, there's more light than there is darkness. It's the tipping point of we've entered spring and spring is on its way. And then the full moon happens in spring. So I'm really looking forward to this cycle because I do feel a lot of reviving energy kind of coming up and through me. But it's definitely not settled. Like, I'm still waking up. Every time I do my morning somatic movement or movement medicine practice, my body is just like rolling around on the ground. Like, I can barely stand up because my body still wants to stretch and still wants to wake up. And there's just like this so much tension in my muscles. Like, I'm doing it right now with my fingers. Like, there's just all this yearning to like get as long and big as possible, but in a very slow way. Like, I'm just coming out of hibernation. I'm just waking up, and my body it's needing that time to really land in the shape that it's gonna take for spring, whatever it's gonna be. So far, I've hosted a moon ceremony with the local community that I'm a part of, and we did some intention setting, releasing, being, embodiment there. And then yesterday I spent the day kind of just in stillness and like not doing a lot. And then today I will have the privilege of sitting in ceremony with an online group of women that I'm a part of. So I'm really looking forward to honing in on more of the intention that kind of came through earlier this weekend. And it was really all about like just joyfully being myself. I just see a little bird in a tree. Hello, little birdie. He is so pretty. Yeah, he's not as pretty as you, I hear you. Yeah, so joyfully being myself. There's a lot of creativity, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I've been up since about 5. I've had my cacao. I've sat in stillness. I'm gonna go do a little bit more drumming and meditation before I kind of get into my day, and then I sit in ceremony with some really wonderful ladies. See, you scared a bird. The bird has turned its back on us now. Good morning. Normally I'm sitting on the other side of my porch, but it's not in the sun, and I just really want to soak and sit and bathe in the sunlight. Anyways, today is Thursday, March 13th, 14th? I don't know, sometimes the days get a little messy for me. That's why I use the moon to track my stuff, because it's less things to remember, and I only need to know like 8 phases, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle of March or June or whatever. But you know, dates are helpful for connecting with normal life. So what I really love about the crescent moon is the slowing down that normally happens with it. Sometimes there's a lot of momentum where you feel like, okay, I did the new moon and I'm very clear and I'm going to take super clear action steps. But I've found that most of the time when I'm working with the crescent moon, it's like I did all this like excavation on the new moon. I got really clear on, you know, what are the feeling tones that I want to bring into the next month or 3 months or however big my vision is. And then there's like this lull period where my body needs to catch up as I take time to integrate and let the seeds or the potentialities of the new moon kind of land and find soil in my body and begin taking root. And that's exactly what's happening this month. It's been beautiful. I've done a lot of nature-oriented walks, and I've been outside a lot more because the weather has called for it. And it's been really nourishing for my body as well as for the goals and the feeling states that I wish to cultivate more in my life. So it's just been like a really beautiful couple of days since the new moon. Like, I don't know how I would navigate this world if I didn't have the knowledge of, you know, cycle wisdom in my consciousness. Just because it's so anchoring, it's so life-giving, and it reminds me that, you know, I'm not a machine and I'm not meant to just wake up and do whatever enters my field. Like, there's things to do and there's a lot to do, but doing it with intention, even if it's the stuff that like doesn't really align with your vision, like doing dishes. It's like when I do the dishes, when I need to have difficult conversations, when I need to do work that I'm not really thrilled about because, you know, I live in the modern world, that I'm not doing it from a place of like avoidance or resentment or fear or anger, you know, just these like lower levels of consciousness, that I'm aligned. I'm taking the time to align and like breathe and be in my body, like fully be where I'm at, and then do the things from a space of pure presence and acceptance of like what and where my life is, rather than this old-based spirituality that I used to practice, which had a little bit of bypassing in it, which is just like, oh, I'm spiritual now, I'm gonna like focus on the future and like not really care about what happened in the past and not really be super thrilled about the present. I'm just gonna focus my intention on the future and like just get there. And that didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah. Since it's the Crescent Moon, I have this deeper understanding that like the slower I go, the more present I go, the deeper I can connect to that felt sense inside of me, and I can say like, is this mine to do? Am I fully here? We tend to set intentions at the new moon, and then come the full moon, we're like, what happened? I feel so burnt out, I feel so tired, I feel so angry, I feel so whatever. And it's because we didn't really hold the thread of awareness to our intention. We kind of just set the intention, and then we went about doing life the same way that we did it a month ago. And like, that's the great thing about growing, is we're not even the same lunar cycle to lunar cycle, month to month, day to day. And so that's really what the Crescent Moon is for me, is just to like take the time to recall, am I still honoring all the knowing that I was given during the new moon, during all the ceremonies and the rituals that I did? Am I still honoring that? Am I showing up as that? Am I making new choices and decisions that honor the change that I wish to bring into my life? And I know that I can't do that if I'm just running 1,000 miles an hour. So the Crescent Moon is like a very welcomed energy after like the doingness of the ceremonies and the beingness and the liminal spaces. It's really beautiful because this is the time where it gets a little bit more practical. We set the pace of the lunar cycle. We plant the seeds if they haven't been planted already, and we begin just tending to the soil because they're not yet even seedlings. So that's my 2 cents. I'm really all right. It's the quarter moon, and I find it so perfect because I always have like a burst of energy come the quarter moon, and I'm just about to plant my new garden for the season, and it's a lot of doing. So it feels like perfect quarter moon, spring moon energy. Really looking forward to it. Good morning. We are on the precipice of the spring equinox, so it's today and tomorrow, depending where we are in the States or the world. And it's also a waxing gibbous moon, which means the full moon is like 5-6 days away from being full. And we are being blessed at this tension point of, winter and spring with one last cold day here where I live in North Carolina. And it's cold, at least to my standards. And it feels right though. It feels right. There's just 1 or 2 more days left to just really enjoy winter and the final stages of rest and relaxation. Not to say that rest and relaxation won't be in my spring, but the energy definitely shifts once the sun crosses the equinox. Nope, once the sun crosses the equator. And then, we're getting into longer days. Hello, baby. Hello. Hello. Anyways, there's a whole video on it, even if it's a couple days, weeks after the spring equinox actually happens. Some good information in there, and the spring equinox just doesn't affect us for one day. It's literally the transition point into a new season. So even if you're listening to it in at a later time, it could still be relevant. So I'll put that somewhere in this video as well. Anyways, I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful equinox, and cheers! today's the full moon, which means it's a full moon ceremony, which means I pack up this entire room and I head to Sky Pond. So that is what I will be doing in the next couple of minutes. Filling up some bins with some fun things, driving to Sky Pond, and then working with some clients before the actual ceremony, and then the ceremony. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it. Good morning. So it is the last quarter moon waning into the balsamic moon, and the waning phase, which takes about 2 weeks, is one of my favorites, but it is so dense sometimes. For example, like, I don't think I filmed too much during the waning moon as much as I did during the waxing, just because to me the waning moon, like, really, like, right after the full moon, as I like descend back into, you know, I make the descent back into the darkness, I just feel this turning inward. Yesterday and the day before was the phase called the last quarter moon, and pretty routinely, the last quarter moon can be very intense for me emotionally. And it was yesterday. Like, I just had like a total moment where I just felt, you know, off track, and I felt that things weren't going the way that I wanted them to, and that I wasn't actually doing the things that were important to me. And it was just like probably amplified by the eclipse that's happening, as well as what else is going on? Oh, like Mercury retrograde. So it just was a lot of emotion yesterday that all came to a point for me. But the moon and working with the moon, it's not about, you know, just manifesting and being perfect and, you know, not having any radical emotions or extreme emotions. It's learning how to ride the shifting tides and not judge them. And so yesterday was a really intense day for me, as it normally is on the last quarter moon. And I didn't turn away from it. And that's something that this lunar cycle awareness practice has really given me, is I don't turn away from these hard feelings, from these hard thoughts inside of my head, these limiting beliefs that may be showing up during usually the waning time of the moon. Sometimes they show up at the full moon or the waxing. Like, it's not a perfect science, but it's typically in the waning moon. And it's been, you know, as I've practiced this lunar cycle awareness stuff, it's really given me the capacity to sit with and be with and witness without, you know, attachment, without judgment, what is inside of me and what's ready to be released. Because I've come to realize that during the waning moon, as we're descending back into darkness, back towards the new moon, we're shedding, you know, the things that no longer serve the person that we will be becoming again in the next cycle. So sometimes the shedding period isn't very intense. There's not a lot to shed, you know, and other times there's a lot. And for me, I think, you know, just with the change of seasons from winter to spring and then the eclipse, it's there is a heightened sense of awakening activity, of blossoming and blooming and becoming. And in order for that new phase, that new expression of me to come to life out of winter, which was like the longest winter of my life, I have to release a lot of things that don't serve the person that I am becoming. And so it came all to a head yesterday. And, you know, most of my day was spent witnessing the pain that was inside of me, and the ache, and just the repressed anger. It was a lot of repressed anger. And that one's a hard one for me to feel. Like, anger isn't something that I particularly love to embody. But, you know, it serves a purpose. And I have had this, up until now, I've had this like pattern in me where I just don't validate myself for being angry. Like, I get upset at myself for being angry at something, when, you know, it's totally normal to feel anger and then to process anger. I just see that I feel anger, and then I say, no, we're not doing that. And then that, you know, causes a whole host of situations and resentments. And I don't want to be practicing that anymore. So that was just a lot for me to kind of integrate and release. And I did. And then, you know, the reward, and it doesn't always happen like this, where you sit with something and the universe is like, good job, you know, but, you know, it was just luck of the draw yesterday that I did sit with all of these hard feelings, and I got to a point where I was able to see it, release it, accept it, you know, validate this part of myself that was feeling angry and resentful. And I was able to kind of like set it down and see it, and like not hate or judge this part of me. And then I went out into the world, because I had to like do some driving for my job. And during the break, I went out into the world just to like see what was there. And I ended up having these wonderful conversations with a couple of beautiful women in the community. One second, there's a plane. And then I just found myself having the most beautiful and connected conversation with two women in my community about the things that light me up, like moon ceremonies and, you know, spirituality and healing and retreats and yoga and, you know, traveling. And it was so affirming for me in that moment, because it just felt like a wink. Like nothing in my life changed, right? I didn't all of a sudden fall into like the greatest opportunity. I didn't all of a sudden like have a quantum leap, or, you know, like make a bunch of money, or, you know, whatever it is that we like want to like manifest and stuff. None of that happened. It was simply just I released the limitations, the contraction, the burdens inside of my unintegrated psyche. And as a result, I was a clear channel, and I received and emitted a frequency that just created abundance of community, abundance of connection. And, you know, it was really a balm for my spirit in that day, or on that day. And I just felt so relieved. Like I said, nothing changed. But I felt so present and so embodied in that moment that it didn't matter that, you know, the things of my life that I'm still working on shifting are the way that they are, because it's never about our external circumstances. It's always about how we choose to show up and respond and be present to the life that we are actually living. You know, there are certainly a number of things. I can make a whole list of the number of things that I wish were different in my life. But I have found on this journey that the more that I accept where I am, while not like complacent, not being complacent about it and just being like, oh, well, this is what it is and I'm never gonna, you know, but actually deeply accepting the present moment as it is, I open myself up to receive, you know, the magic and the miracles and the like quick shift of, but life is beautiful and this is good too. And if I can enjoy this, you know, I can enjoy what comes next. And it was just a really nice levity in the waning moon for me, because the waning moon definitely draws me inward. It has me look at my shadows. It's like, what about this lunar cycle worked? And, you know, what about this lunar cycle didn't? What parts of you did you listen to really well and what parts of you didn't? You know, what needs to be integrated here so that as we step into the next cycle, which is in a week, you know, we are either tending to a plant that's already growing, or we're planting new seeds, or we're starting completely over because the plant died because we didn't water it, you know, stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to the remainder of this waning moon. Lots of shadows for me. I'm definitely sitting in it, and I'm so grateful that the eclipse is here, because the eclipse is just going to amplify it, scoop it all out, and come the new moon, I will be sitting in some beautiful liminal space for creativity. And yeah, it feels really good.